JT Crowley is Talking Books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, everyone. I'm JT Crowley, and I'm so delighted today to have a new author for you to come on the show. And this is David Ellis, and it's about his book, Naughty Nonsense, Lascivious Limericks. And it's a very humorous book, everybody, believe you me. And what we're going to do is read a few of the limericks, the poems, the free verses that are in this book. And they're very brief, a lot of them, but there's a story behind them. They're very humorous. Some of them are a little, how shall we say, risque.
Yes.
But anybody with a sense of humor is just going to love this book. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of introduction to what David Ellis, where he came from, what he does. So David Ellis has, from an early age, been a fan of British comedy, especially Frankie Howerd and the Carry On Crew. And for those of us of a certain age, we know all about those films, and they certainly were risky as well. And their influence can be seen in his various selection of his comic verses of over 50 years. He worked as an English teacher in England, where he sought to encourage creative writing and an appreciation of literature, including poetry. Well known in the United Kingdom and Australia as a chess player, he has been West of England, Cornish, Kent, and 3 times West Australian champion. He has competed in a number of Australian Open and Closed Championships with the best result equal 3rd. He has also regularly coached young players, including a to-be British champion. He's been chess columnist for the West Australian newspaper for more than 24 years, and in 2001 received the Australian Chess Federation Medal for outstanding work as a chess correspondent. The year after, receiving the Queen's Australian Sports Medal. He plays piano and has been in demand as an accompanist in collaboration with a junior choir. He recorded a 45 EP, and for those of us can still remember what EPs are, and years later recorded 2 CDs, and again, yes, a lot of us can still remember what CDs are, with the soprano Wilhelmine Falcon. He's father to 2 children. His son is a champion ultramarathon runner, while his daughter has competed in a number of triathlons, as well as successfully representing Western Australia in both the girls' and women's chess teams. So there you go, everybody. That's a little bit about David. So David, come and join me on the show to talk about this, very humorous book.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure, John. Glad to speak to you, yes.
So David, writing has come to you, well, you've done literature all your life, but this is your first book, isn't it?
It is. It was the COVID isolation that got me to put my verses together and create a lot newer ones, and I thought, put them into a book, yes.
Did you laugh a lot when you were writing these verses? Did you laugh a lot when you were writing these verses?
Well, I smiled a lot. I don't think I actually guffawed at all, no.
So what we're going to do, everybody, is there's a lot of little, comic verses, humorous verses, limericks, poems. So what we're going to do is that David and I are going to read some for you, and we'll just ask briefly, David, what they were about, just to give you a flavour of what this book is. And as you can see from in the background, you can see the poster there. This is just going to be one roller coaster of a laugh and a ride, everybody. Brace yourself. David, could you do me the great pleasure of reading to us Sexy Shorts?
Right, one of the verses from Sexy Shorts.
What? Yeah.
A sex-hungry farm girl named Kay would take a new lover each day. When they said, "You're a sinner," she replied, "No, a winner. Every time I leap in the hay." Right now.
And of course, the illustration there is quite poignant. Put it that way. It's that one, yes.
Yes.
So I'm going to, one of my other favorite ones here, everybody, was Susie. No, actually, yes, was Susie. And it's wonderful, everybody. So I'm just going to read it very quickly. A gin-sodden old woman called Susie was known as the neighbourhood floozy. She said, any bloke can give me a poke. At my age, one cannot be choosy. Where did these come from in your head, these little...
Yes, all right. Yes, well, I'll go on if you like.
What about
Young Desmond?
What about Desmond?
Right. Young Desmond said, I must confess, I love to be seen in a dress. Had panties and bra, and I think I'm a star. So please, can you call me Princess?
Now this one is, I just love this one, everybody. This is Danny. An excited male virgin called Danny was keen to explore the girl's fanny. When he reached out his hand to feel for her gland, he discovered that she was a tranny.
Right. Okay, I'll go on.
Well, yes. Shall we go on? Let's go to Jenny.
Alcohol. Yes. Yes, this is a section on alcohol.
Yes.
A social young lady named Jenny was forever spending a penny. The reason is clear. She loves to drink beer. And it's not just a few. No, it's many.
You know, as I said, I think you must have thoroughly enjoyed doing these, because let's go to Lou here. You know, again on the alcohol one. Said that passionate beer maker Lou, who was wrapped with his latest home brew. You could ignore all the rest. This is really the best, and I'm sure you will all think so too. Where did you conjure up that little one from? Were you in a bar one night?
I just don't. No, I don't know. A lot of them were doing it in groups, where I picked out the people in the group and made a poem about them. Sometimes they might be relevant to the person's character, very often not. But anyway. So here's one. I have a French son-in-law. I don't know if that inspired me, but here we are. Je suis sexy, said dashing Pierre. See how chic are the clothes that I wear. He then flounced down the street, tripped over his feet, and suffered a sore derriere.
It's actually bruised in the book, everybody. Do you share these stories, David, when you go on your chess outings? Do you entertain everybody with these stories?
I have done a few, and yes, but more. I did them I was at a recreation group, and we had to produce a magazine. So I did limericks about some of the friends from the group. So yes. So here's one.
Can I do Vicky?
Yes,
can I read
Vicky?
This is under the food one, everybody. Said a fastidious eater called Vicky, when offered some tea with a bicky, nice digestive, Marie. They do nothing for me, so excuse me for being so picky.
I do have a section on alcohol, and I've got one on music, so I didn't know which one this should go to, but here we are.
Go with it.
At the church, gifted pianist Hugh, a sizable audience drew, but he came on so pissed, he messed up his friends' list and puked over all the front pew. Yes, so
I think, do you think, when you were a teacher, David, that, back in your earlier days, if you loved poetry. Did you read poetry to the children in school?
Yes, and I got them to produce their own as well. So, yes, that was a part.
I mean, poetry is a specialist area, as far as I'm concerned. I think, you either love poetry or you don't. You either get it or you don't, because there are many formulas, many versions here. There's free verse, there's rhyming, there's all sorts of formulas to use, isn't there? So how long have you loved doing poetry?
I think from about the age of about 7, I think. I had time on my hands reading. I had Me's Encyclopedia as a child, and there would be a lot of poems in there, and I would read them. I loved Lewis Carroll, and I learned the poem "The Walrus and the Carpenter" while I was at primary school, for 18 verses, I believe, and I think I can still remember it. Yes,
because when you were 7, when you were a child, you were born on the Scilly Isles, the big island, St. Mary's, weren't you?
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
and of course you were there after the World War II, so that's so you'd have been on the beaches, walking on the beaches, and enjoying the scenery there. So did you actually, as a child, did you read books? Did you, read poetry then? Did you sit on the beaches there, enjoying the waters lapping on the shores and just sitting there reading?
No, I did my reading at home. I didn't. I have done reading at the beach, but that's more in my adult life.
So yes, you were born here in the United Kingdom. You were born in the Scilly Isles. You taught in various places in the UK, England, Sheffield, all around those sorts of places. Did you enjoy teaching kids? Did you enjoy teaching them literature?
Yes, I did. Yes, it was quite a joy. Yes, and when you've got some enthusiasm in the class, which hopefully I got most of the time, it was quite a delight. Because
you went out to Australia, didn't you, when you were in your early 30s?
Yes.
To be in front of him, you went out, followed for romance. It didn't quite work out, but you stayed in Australia. Do you love Australia?
I do love Australia, yes, and I never wanted to leave it, but I must admit, when I was back in England for holidays, I didn't want to leave England either.
Because you're on the western side of Australia. You're from Perth, aren't you?
Perth, that's right. Yes. In the big state of Western Australia, yes. Big mining state.
Yeah, because when you look at Australia, everybody, yes, so you're there, you're on Perth. And just to get to Sydney is about 7 or 8 hour flight, isn't it? Or something like that.
5, yes. It's about the same distance as London to Moscow, I think.
Yes. And I think, we get a lot of Australian politics over here as we watch that. And so I want to come to the section that you've put around politics here, David.
Right, okay.
And you've got several quotes from politicians here, but for me, one stood out, and that was Julia Gillard. Now, she was the Labour Prime Minister from 2010 to 2013, and she was the only woman to become the Australian Prime Minister. And her plans to introduce a mining tax in 2012 caused an outcry from the mining industry. And of course, she's famous for standing up in the Australian Parliament and saying, if you want to know what a misogynist looks like, to the opposition leader, she said that, just look in the mirror.
Yes.
But the little ditty you've got about her here is, my mining tax, said ex-PM Julie, made all the rich miners unruly. Twiggy and Gina could not have been meaner, and that was the end of yours truly.
Yes, a favourite of mine, one of my favourites, is Malcolm Turnbull.
Tell us about Malcolm.
He was a rather liberal leading in a conservative government. He was I think, a millionaire or a billionaire, possibly. He'd been he was a lawyer.
He was a banker and a barrister, wasn't he?
Banker, that's right, and a barrister, that's correct. But he lost his popularity in the polls, these opinion polls, not elections. So he got sacked by the party. So here we are. Mr. Harbourside Mansion is glum. That was a nickname for him. Who's that, you may ask? It's Malcolm. A sustained rating drop saw him given the chop. So he now sits at home on his bum.
This book, everybody, is full of all this stuff. It's hilarious, it's comical, and it's certainly, when I looked at this book, it made me laugh so much. And as you can see, the banter that David and I are having, we're just laughing at this because this is what this book is about. It's a humorous book. There are, a lot of these comic verses that just put a wonderful smile on your face. So it's well worth getting this book, everybody. David, let's move on a little bit from the short little ditties you've got here. And could you care to read On Hot Weekends and tell us, what was this one about?
Right, it's really, I can find it. It's really a grumpy old man's opinion of the beach.
Do we know any of them?
So, I think there were plenty around. I think there was a television series about them. This might have inspired me. But this is On Hot Weekends. On hot weekends in this sun-kissed land, we flock in droves to our fine white sand. And it's into the water for a dip, but be careful you avoid the rip. And that's not all we have to fear. White pointers might be lurking near. The jellyfish and sandflies sting, and seagulls steal the food we bring. Now, if you want to take a nap, don't forget the slip, slop, slap, or you'll be burnt from head to feet and feel exhausted from the heat. A cafe then, with ocean view. You'll wait for hours in the queue. And you'll so wish you had thought twice when you sit down and see the price. So when it's hot, I do not roam, but stay in air-conditioned room with beer and telly. That's the ticket. Watching the flannel fools play cricket. So I don't know if there's any words that aren't familiar. A rip is a kind of underground current. In fact, the first swim I ever had in WA at the beach, I got caught in a rip. And I was trying to get back to the land, and I wasn't making any headway. So I thought, I'll just take a breather a bit, tread water, get my breath back. And next thing I know, a lifeguard comes out and rescues me.
That's that silly old palm.
And white pointers are, of course, are the large sharks growing up to about 5 meters, which have killed dozens of Australians over the many years. So. And the slip, slop, slap was a government scheme to get people to put sunscreen on because Australia is the melanoma capital of the world.
Indeed, it is. The ozone layer.
Yes.
I liked this one, and I'm going to read it. It's called An Aussie Mate, everybody. Jack's furrowed brow creased in a frown. The bloody telly's broken down. The footy game we cannot view. Now what the hell is there to do? I looked around through the air of gloom and saw in the corner of his room an old chess set, perhaps his son's. I've seen a way we still have fun. That's if you can play the game. Though I'm none too sure it needs a brain. Ah, bloody ha, I'm no one's fool. At chess, I was the best in school. So, if it is game you're seeking, let's go ahead. You'll cop a beating. For Jack and me, our friendship long was spiced by competition strong. For we played each other countless times at tennis, golf, and other games. But never did we ever guess we'd sit down to a game of chess. I held 2 pawns. He picked the black, giving me first chance to attack. My skillful play, such were my hopes, would soon have Jack on the ropes. And faced with my superior game, this braggart will be put to shame. With copious supply of beer to drink, to oil our brains to help us think, each searching for a winning plan, we strove to find the better man. Taunts and jeers whose motivation sought to ruin concentration. Oh, us 2 foes had no effect, as we attempted to select the moves that would surely bring about the rival's army's utter rout. The game progressed, move after move, and desperately I tried to prove that I was by far the better man, and Jack was just and also ran. But then I sensed my plans were failing. Sadly, my bright hopes were fading, and with my forces dissipated, the likelihood of being mated. Now, don't you laugh, it's no joke to lose to that obnoxious bloke. I searched and searched, but I could not find a move to stop the rot, till finally my concentration lit a spark of inspiration. There was one chance, a trap had set. He'd fall right in, on that I'd bet. My strongest piece moved to attack, bringing a swift reply from Jack. His gloating smirk was plainly seen as he reached out and snatched my queen. The game is up. Accept your fate. You're a beaten man, so give up, mate. No, Jack, I smiled. Our little war has culminated in a draw, and we must both accept our fate. Your final move produced stalemate. Jack got up and without a word swept all the pieces from the board, and as they clattered to the floor, he pointed me towards the door. I left and thought, it's such a shame our friendship ruined a stupid game. The days went by, I felt so blue. It seemed that nothing I could do could break the deadlock or could mend the mateship with my erstwhile friend. But now, weeks later, I can report we're back together playing sport. With confidence, there won't be another rift twixt Jack and me. But there's one game I must confess remains off limit, and that's chess. This is you and your chess, isn't it?
Yes, it is a bit, yes. There's a sense of humour to me sometimes, yes. But I can, of course, be much more serious. And an inspirational tale I found from the UK recently was that of Sir Tom.
Captain Tom.
Moore.
Yeah.
Captain Tom, yes.
Going to read his little ditty?
I'll read it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's called Hero. Like thousands of his countrymen, he fought bravely during his nation's struggle against an evil foe, enduring the privations and dangers of the battlefield. But you will not find his name among the few we call our war heroes. But he is a hero, remembered not for leading an attack, nor rallying his outnumbered men to hold off the fearsome enemy hordes, nor rescuing wounded colleagues under fire. He was not a hero on the sporting field, standing out among his team, or as an individual performing with such brilliance, winning cups and medals for a success-hungry nation. He was not strong in body, nor muscled and fleet of foot. He did not climb mountains, he did not swim seas or sail the world alone. He was not flung beyond the far horizons of space. He did not endure persecution, imprisonment or torture, but he is a hero. Aged and infirm, he summoned all the strength of his ancient feeble body to walk, not the length of a country, but just that of his small garden. For 3 dogged weeks he shuffled up and down that short, restricted area, with walking frame his sole companion. Hour after hour, day after day, he plodded on, striving to raise £1,000 for his country's health. But news of his endeavours could not be contained, his quest winning the plaudits of an admiring world, a world bedevilled and frightened by a hideous plague. Donations pouring in from far and wide. £33 million to fight this insidious, invisible foe. Donations to honour this old man, this legend, this hero. Please always remember, he said, tomorrow will be a good day. Summoned to attend the Queen, a sword gently tapping his shoulder. I knight thee, Sir Tom Moore. His 100th year attained, sadly he too was taken by this worldwide scourge. But he will be remembered, Sir Tom, hero. And when that good tomorrow comes, we shall still remember Sir Tom, hero.
It's a wonderful story. And of course, it's based on Sir Tom Moore, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Yes, I find it very inspiring. And it moves me each time I read that story. Yes.
And when you look at the photograph, David, in the book, there you've got the Queen knighting him in Windsor Castle and the gardens there, and himself. And of course, you now look at it, and neither of them are here anymore.
That's true. Yes, yes.
It's a wonderful photograph.
Wonderful piece.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, and I think a lot of people can learn for what he did. He did small little things, but he did them very graciously. And he showed us that, yes, there will be a new tomorrow. And, when all this COVID was going on. And of course, the Queen said that when she addressed the nations, there will be a better today, better tomorrow. We will meet again. Of course, coming from the song, the Prevalent song, We Will Meet Again, from the World War II.
Yes.
But I want to go to, if you don't mind, read the one about a silly childhood memory, the Isles of Scilly, because this is where you came from. So my childhood before going to the mainland of Cornwall to attend secondary school was spent at St Mary's, the largest of the Isles of Scilly, pronounced Scilly. 28 miles from Land's End, Cornwall, an idyllic place to live, especially for children enjoying their summer holidays from school. The year was 1947, when I was 7 years old, provided a particularly warm and dry summer, giving day by day sunny weather to enjoy. However, the words of the poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, immortalized in song from the ink spots with Ella Fitzgerald, into each life some rain must fall, are pertinent to the following verses. So I'm going to read this, everybody. I was born on the Scilly Isles off Britain's far southwest. You may think the name sounds funny, but those islands, they're the best. Spelt silly. To remember, here's the key. There is a C in Scilly, and Scilly's in the sea. Very good. Now, the summer of 47 was such a wondrous time. The opportunity it gave us boys to run about and climb the trees, go fishing or riding on our bikes, to take dips in the ocean, enjoy long country hikes. My mother runs a village shop, selling cigarettes and sweets. She knows each customer by name, and each she warmly greets. In summer, there's a constant flow of customers each day for my mother's homemade ice cream. Could not be beat, they say, and often when the sun was hot, I'd be running round the town and popping for vanilla cone to help to cool me down. I'd come home tired and dusty, as happy as I could be, and when I saw my granny, I asked her, "What's for tea?" Whatever was put before me would quickly disappear, and when dessert was offered, I scoffed that up, no fear. But some days I want to change from hectic times with mates. I'd rather wander down to the quayside where my granddad's boat awaits. He was a strong and burly man, but kind and full of smiles. His boat, the Nor would ferry goods to and from the smaller isles. On a short trip to St. Martin's, where my old granddad was born, he took me with him for a walk into the little town. And there I saw, to my surprise, after he'd walked a while, all dressed up in their Sunday best, the folk of the small isle. We were going to a wedding. In church we sat in pews, and I noticed the boys who looked so smart in clean shirts and polished shoes. But for me, I had no shirt, no tie, no shoes upon my feet, just a pair of grubby shorts, which I wore in the summer heat. I imagined the congregation on me, their eyes did train, and I shrank as small as I could be, filled with embarrassed pain. And after church, the wedding feast more misery did bring. Delicious food was piled sky high, but I could hardly eat a thing. The jollity went on and on. The end, then it would come, when I would get back on the boat and finally reach home. And when we did at last return unto St. Mary's Quay, standing there before us, my mother I did see. No pleasant greeting welcomed me as she grabbed me by the ear. The angry look upon her face made me quake with fear. He should have been home hours ago. I've been searching high and low, that he was in your keeping. Off that I didn't know. The smacks rained down upon my legs, and my tears flowed in a flood. My grandad tried to intervene, but didn't do any good. The fault it was entirely mine, so bent your rage on me, but his words on her had no effect, as she ignored his plea. Then miserable, sore and hungry, I were ordered to my bed. The memories of that sad day remain inside my head, but the details of my escapade and that long distant time have given me this opportunity to share my tale in rhyme. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is a memory.
It's your little childhood, a day of your
Yes.
childhood on your home territory of St. Mary's in the Scilly Isles.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
It's wonderful. David, what's next? Do you have any more books coming down the line? You know, what's next for you and your writing? Because this book is amazing, everybody. I've laughed and laughed.
I am over 80, and I think perhaps I'm not sure I can go through the effort to do anything more, but I do keep, occasionally ideas come to me, and I do jot down a few more limericks. Would you like to hear what the last one I've done?
Yeah, do the last one. Yeah, it's not in the book, is it?
No, it's not in the book.
All right, here's a surprise, everyone.
Yes, if I can remember it. Let's think. Said a limerick writer named Dave, "It's fortune and fame that I crave. I'm much better than Lear, but I'll end up, I fear, poor and unknown in my grave."
Very good. David, who do you see, as reading your books? Who do you want to read your book? This humorous book, of comic verses.
I think it's anybody who likes humor, and anybody who's not prudish.
That's true.
Because I don't. Yes, so that's it. Age doesn't mean much. Whether you're a man or a woman, I would hope it would appeal to both. And obviously, one has to be of a certain age to start. It's a little for children, but once you're an adult, yes.
Where can people get your book, David?
It's in a number of the top booksellers sell the book, including Amazon and that. But my publishers are Ex Libris, but as I say, I've looked through Google, and I found the book is available on a great many bookstores online. Yes, certainly. Yes.
There you go, everyone. David Ellis, it's been wonderful to chat with you, to get to know you over the last few weeks, and to read this hilarious, humorous book. It put a smile on my face to read these, intriguing verses. And the illustrations are quite good for some of them as well.
Yes.
But I just want to say, David, thank you very much for coming on the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed your book. And as I say at the end of all my podcasts, everybody, I'm JT Crowley. Thanks for listening, watching, wherever you are in the world. Until next time, stay safe.